We cover Lansing, as you well know, like no one else, keeping on our eye on everything that goes on with our money up there and with what the legislature and what the governor are doing. We have spirited discussions at times, and sometimes we have agreement on items. It's not the case with that jobs bill being considered in the House right now. The Mackinac Center for Public Policy, our conservative think tank based in Midland, has issued an opinion that says the new jobs bill would allow the state to invest in private equity funds and businesses. And it suggests that this is not the intent of Michigan voters from the 2002 ballot initiative that they passed as part of a constitutional prohibition to such an investment. The opinion was rendered on behalf of the Policy Center by Michael Lefebvre, who's on the other end of our line. Michael, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, sir.
Michael's the Director of Fiscal Policy at the Mackinac Center. This legislation was sponsored by Bill Huizenga, the Republican from Zeeland, who's on the other end of our line as well. Mr. Huizenga, good morning to you.
Good morning, Frank, and good morning, Mike. How are you?
Good morning, Bill. Hope you're well.
It's rather unusual that the Mackinac Center disagrees with the Republican side, isn't it, Mike?
Actually, it's not unusual at all. We've been following economic development policy in the state just as one example since we opened our doors, and we've disagreed with both parties on state-directed economic development issues from day one.
All right. Well, the governor is fond of saying that you're favoring the Republicans all the time. And I wanted to ask you that because here's a case where we got a Republican-sponsored bill that you're plainly criticizing. What's wrong with this jobs bill?
Well, there are a number of problems, but the one that we've specifically set out to explain was the fact that the jobs bill, as it is written and passed by the House, would violate the spirit of a 150-year-old prohibition on the state owning stock in private businesses. Now, the reason this is in our Constitution in the first place is because our first governor floated $5 million in bonds to invest in the high-tech industries of the day, and it turned out to be a disaster. We believe that amendment, which read, the state shall not subscribe to or be interested in the stock of any company, association, or corporation, has served Michigan well. Now, as you have mentioned, in 2002, the voters approved the ability of permanent trusts to invest in stocks in the hope of getting higher returns so that they could improve the trusts, such as the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund, to improve our natural resources. It is very likely that it was voters did not understand that they would be sort of slapping a label on the future in 2002 to I'm sorry.
Yeah, I hear your phone ringing there. I'll let you click it off.
I appreciate that. It's my brother's, actually, and it's the wedding day, you know.
Yeah, we should point out that Michael Lefebvre was going to be with us yesterday along with Representative Huizenga. We got sidetracked by the long speech by President Bush, had to reschedule to today, and Michael Lefebvre was nice enough to do it, even though he's attending his brother's wedding today. So we thank you for that.
Well, it's my pleasure.
Now tell your brother you'll take care of him later, okay?
Yeah, I will do that. Thanks.
All right, now you're in the midst of saying that we have this policy that's over 150 years old where we don't allow our state to invest in businesses, in private businesses.
But now, due to that 2002 change to the amendment, what legislators can do is simply slap the permanent trust fund label on legislation to make it legal. We believe it will pass constitutional muster for the state to invest in stocks, either directly or through some designee.
All right, Representative Huizenga, this is your bill, and you obviously believe in it very much. Where do you disagree with Michael Lefebvre?
Well, Frank, I do want to point out and make sure everybody does understand the Mackinac Center. Mike and the Mackinac Center have been good friends for a long time, and I've been a supporter and actually even a contributor in the past. We'll see what happens in the future. But no, I'm kidding, Mike. The check will come. But they clearly are equal opportunity offenders. They don't hold punches any way, shape, or form, and they're doing that again. I just think they have a few things a little off base on this, and the original intent and the reason why we looked at securitization or the selling off of some of those tobacco settlement dollars was because we did not want to go the direction that both the governor had proposed as a $2 billion bond, or frankly, as even the Senate had proposed, which was a $1 billion bond. Because we wanted to save us from that direct investment. We also wanted to save the costs of doing a special election, and we wanted to save us, most importantly, from $4 billion in structural debt if we had gone with the governor's plan. And we think we achieved that. Now, it seems, as I read the article, I think it's a little fast and loose to say we're sort of slapping this permanent fund label on it. There is a process, and currently with those permanent funds, there's very few. They're very selected, and they have very specific purposes. If we didn't make it a permanent fund, if we just sold this off and threw it into the Treasury, what would happen to this money in the future is that it would be rateable. It would be fungible and could be used for any purpose in any section of the state government. And I'm certainly not prepared as a fiscal conservative. I'm not prepared to just throw $1 billion into the coffers of the state. Because I think everybody knows what happens when government, at no matter what level, local, state, or federal, does when it has money.
It spends it all.
It
sure.
spends it, and so we felt we needed to do some things to boost the economy and to sort of help build that financial infrastructure that this state needs. Without just sort of turning over the keys to the kingdom.
Sure. Now, this is the $1 billion in tobacco settlement money that we're grabbing, right?
Correct.
And that we're going to use. Now, don't we already do this same sort of thing, bet on what companies are going to work through the Michigan Economic Development Corporation?
Can I answer that, Frank?
Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
Essentially, yes, not only in terms of direct investment in stocks because they're a quasi-public corporation, but through picking of industries, through a variety of programs. And this is nothing new, actually. State economic development history goes back to Kim Sigler's administration. Every single administration since Kim Sigler has rallied under the flag of diversifying Michigan's economy with some new economic development program. And I would argue that if they worked, we'd be fully diversified by now.
Well, and you're not going to get an argument with me about the success or lack thereof of MEDC in recent years, which is actually something that drove me to insist. I was the one that negotiated it over the summer with Senator Velde Garcia and someone from the administration. What we had insisted on happening was moving the Michigan Strategic Fund, which houses the MEDC, moving it away from, or not allowing this fund to be housed under that, and to not allow them to have direct control under the Department of Labor and Economic Growth or the MEDC. And in fact, I put a provision in there that specifically says MEDC cannot even supply the support personnel to run this. We move the MSF over to the Treasury because I do believe the state treasurer, who has a fiduciary responsibility in the state, who already, I might add, uses companies like Credit Suisse, First Boston, and others to invest all of our pension funds and all those things at a state level. We wanted him to have more, because he's got the legal responsibility. We wanted to have him to have more control in that.
This question's for both of you. Why do we seem to feel in our state that our government is better equipped to decide who's going to do well with our tax dollars as an investment lure than private industry is?
Frank, thanks for the tee up on this one. This is Bill. I also want to make sure that everybody understands. From my viewpoint of the world, this is part of the 1-2 punch that we in the House have on trying to deal with the economy. First and foremost, we have to deal with our tax structure. Our tax structure is out of whack with the rest of the states. That's got to be punch number one. I believe this is punch number two as we're trying to come in and bolster our standing and battle against the unemployment rate that we have had. Government does not run more efficiently or better than private sector or you and I do with our own personal financial decisions. And what we are doing, we are not having government job creation experts, which was something that the governor wanted to have. What we are doing is we are allowing for the state to use people like Credit Suisse First Boston and Citibank and all these other investors who do this for a living to, one, put their own money in, and two, then have some additional dollars that come from the state in on those investments. So it's not the state or state job creation experts picking these stocks or these companies or anything else. It's those job creation experts who actually know what they're doing in the private sector who are making those decisions.
But the point is, no one spends or invests their own money as carefully as they spend. Nobody spends or invests someone else's money as carefully as they spend or invest their own. And because this program is driven by other people's money and through political channels, you still have the same incentive problems that you have with, say, the MEDC and its shortcomings, or the previous 6 decades of programs. You may not realize this, but this particular proposal has a precursor in the Blanchard administration called the Research Excellence Fund, which tried to do exactly what this legislation is attempting to do itself. Now, I would ask you, how many legislators have even heard of the Research Excellence Fund, and whether or not it has succeeded or failed?
I would guess not very many, Representative Huizenga.
In a term-limited era, half of them haven't heard of Governor Blanchard.
But it would seem to me that if it was successful, the current legislature would be crowing about its success or not needing a new program.
Sure.
Well, Michael, I don't think anybody's saying that it was successful or that it's even actually been implemented.
Well, it was implemented. The Research Excellence Fund was.
Yeah, I understand that, but it's not being currently utilized in any way, shape, or form. And that there again, we're not going to have an argument about who does this better, but we do believe that that we have an opportunity here to help create an atmosphere that's going to allow Michigan companies with Michigan employees to be successful, and without having direct investment from the state, without the state picking those winners and losers. We're using the people that know how to do this and do this on a daily basis with their private equity funds, venture capital funds, to come in and strengthen those.
All right. Unfortunately, we've got to cut it right there. Representative Huizenga, we appreciate the time. Michael Lefebvre, the same, especially to you, taking time out from your brother's wedding. Hey, in 10 seconds, Michael, you mentioned that $5,000 investment by our first governor, Stevens Mason, in the emerging technology at the time?
Yes.
What was it back then?
$5 million in railroads and canals.
$5 million in railroads and canals.
And it grossed $92 in revenue.
Ouch. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
And there was the first lesson in government getting involved in private enterprise. The Frank Beckmann Show on WJR.